with the heater warming up my garage before I go out and do a little bit more work. I want to take you through what I accomplished on Thursday, December 15th with Project Risky Business, our 1985 Porsche 928 project car. Yesterday was a change in plans from what I had envisioned on Wednesday. Plan was to adjust the throttle cables on the 928 in an effort to improve the transmission performance and the acceleration. I'm going to save that for a future video because I ended up having to order the whole assembly where the cruise control, the downshift cable, and the throttle cable all connect on my car that control the throttle body and the transmission kickdown. So knowing I have that part on order, it's not going to come till the middle of next week. I decided to go ahead and finish the back of the interior and notably remove the old speakers that are shot in the back seat position and in the hatch. But more importantly, I need to redye and straighten out the rear quarter panel trim. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the steps you need to do to remove the quarter panel trim on a Porsche 928. I'm also going to show you the collateral damage from a prior resident in this car and what my steps are going to be to mitigate that moving forward. Stay tuned. Removing the cargo area and backseat trim on a Porsche 928 is not difficult. There's a series of clips and screws that you need to know where they are to facilitate taking out the piece. But in order to do that, you do need to take out the back seat. Of course, the first thing I needed to do was remove the toolkit I always carry, and that is the hatch cover. Now, that you notice is a taupe leather piece, vinyl. I found this at the Porsche swap meet a year or so ago. I paid it $50 for it, and my intent is to dye this. You cannot, it's one thing to find these, but to find these in this leather like this, most of them are cloth and have long since disintegrated. So I found this piece. I have the dye. I'm going to dye it to match the rest of the interior. But more on that in a future episode. This is the replacement carpet I put in last year. So one of my New Year's resolutions is I'm going to do a much better job of bagging and tagging the various parts I take out of this car. Prime example are these rear trims. About a year ago, in fact, almost to the day, I started taking out the passenger side trim, and then for whatever reason, I can't even remember, I walked away from it. Well, I set down all of the hardware on the passenger side one in the cargo floor, not knowing which is which. So this time around, when I went to go take the driver's side out, I'm documenting it here, and I'm using this old Dunkin' Donuts container to store all the bags in, and I'm labeling it accordingly. So now, and here's a shot of me for every subsection that I go through here today. I'm putting Post-it notes inside a Ziploc bag so that it'll make it a lot easier when I go to put this back together. This first shot, you'll notice, is of the driver's side rear section of that rear quarter trim. And there's two Phillips screws. But in order to access these cleanly, you need to remove the rear carpeted panel that holds the toolkit. Once you do that, you have access to these two screws. I've taken out the one, and you see me putting it in the bag now. The next screw is hidden in the, I guess that would be the C-pillar rear hatch. It's tucked up underneath. And then it's a matter of removing the speaker so that you can get to the wiring and disconnect that. You really don't have to. I just decided to do it in this sequence, but when you pull the panel back, you could always leave it in place. I need to replace the speakers, so that's why I wanted to pull it. And there is a shot of why I'm replacing the back speakers. This one is actually the better of the two. The other one was completely shot. There's a screw that holds on the coat hook in my car. I guess some cars have handles. And then there's a small Phillips head screwdriver right where my right hand was in that shot. Now I'm taking out the rear seat speaker, and I'm going to replace these as well. The one on the passenger side is blown out. This one still works, but they're aftermarket units, and if you've watched my other Blaupunk series, I'm trying to make the car look stock on in the interior as much as I can. Sure. In my hand is the factory grill plate. I've ordered replacements for that because they'll be scratched up, and the speakers I have are going to fit on the back side, so it'll look much more factory to match the grills you see in the driver's door there. Moving on, there's a piece of side trim in the back seat. Now, the section I did not record was me moving out the lower section of the back seats. Those appeared to be, I don't know if they're glued in or they were just sticky from years of heat and whatever exposure, but they did come out easily. It was just a matter of pulling up I guess it was the adhesive they put on in the factory. So, but I apologize for not catching that. Camera went out. This Phillips screw, there's 2 Phillips screws that hold this side bolster trim, and there's the back side. That's what hides the seat belt for these rudimentary back seats. And I'm taking the washer off there, of course, bagging it. Before you take the back seat off, there are 2 screws that hold the carpeting and form a cover between the gap when the seat's folded and the back trunk area. So I'm just taking those 2 screws out now. They come out very easily, and then that flips up. All right, now, a couple of things going on here, what I want to point out. It may be very difficult to see, but this, just to the right of my socket wrench, is what I would consider unexposed leather. And you can see it just has this rich, creamy color. And then as you move up towards the storage cover scutcheon there, you can see how the color goes from this nice, buttery, creamy look to basically a bleached out tan. So I have dye. That's why I'm taking these out. It's a factory match, and I'll be showing that as I clean these up and straighten them out. But for now, this is an HW7 Allen socket that I'm using to pull these cap screws out. There's 2 of them, and that's what holds, on this side, it holds the hinge section of the back seat, the upper backrest, if you will. And these are fairly long threaded screws. And the upper one is a little tough to get to. That's why I use that extension. Anyway, once those are loose, you'll see you have to tilt it towards the center of the car, and the hinge that merges into the center console then allows that to take out. It's just a hinge there that's goes into a receptacle, but that comes out pretty easily then. And of course, the trim panel comes right out. Now you have these metal clips that hold the base of the trim panel, and these are sheet metal screws, what the factory calls an oval head screw. And this is the 3rd one I'm taking out. And there's one by the spare tire cover. Another shot of how you can see it going from creamy, where it's been hidden there by the shock tower, to the bleach out and where the panel's warped. Now, you need to remove the seat belt bolt that is by the rocker panel directly behind each front seat. I believe that's a 17 millimeter wrench I'm using there. I'm using my 1/2-inch drive because these are torqued in pretty good. You also see the leftover glue for the seat. All right, so this one will throw a lot of people. This is scutcheon for the seat belt where the reel goes into the B pillar. There are 2 screws holding this escutcheon in. You need to use a smaller screwdriver for that. And there you go. Finally, with all those other screws removed, you can use a trim tool to unfasten the clips along the C pillar, the hatch pillar. There we go. And that trim piece has to come off in order to let that go. But once you have those, there's a good shot of the 3 clips that you have to undo. where the speaker enclosure is. You can see how creamy that is and how faded it is. And just above my head is where the leather is coming apart from the slightly warped backing panel. So I have to figure out a way to straighten that out. And there you see, I just let the seatbelt go and it comes out. All right, so there's a shot of the driver's side. There's this black, when you pull that panel out, you could see there's this black vinyl that fits underneath the seal for the rear quarter windows. And you see this nice solid piece. I'm going to clean that up very nicely and get that all steam cleaned, disinfected. What's surprising to me is how much insulation is in this car on both of these sides. I had visions of putting Dynamat along this, but there's really no need to. Maybe along the floor. A project I've been dreading for a year now is taking off the passenger side trim panel. When I pulled the speaker last December and started doing this, I saw that there was a nest built underneath the rear speaker. And it was like, I just don't want to deal with this right now. Well, fast forward a year and here we are. So it was not pretty. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was still not pretty. So about the only thing I can't do for you is let you smell it. Well, here I am removing the panel because all the hardware was gone. And this is basically a mouse nest and their leftover products all along the top of this here. So here's a nice shot of what I have been dreading to pull for the past year. And here I am using latex gloves, a piece of corrugate, leftover corrugate from another project. And I'm just trying to scrape this into what you don't see is me wearing an N95 mask. But I'm trying to scrape all of this in as best as I can. And it's just a huge leftover nest. There were no dead mice, but it just was a nasty thing. And now you can see I used my vacuum cleaner and just tried to clean up what I couldn't scrape in the bowl here. And this was just nasty, nasty, nasty. But it's done. So as I'm vacuuming, you can see this huge hole that some creature created while they lived in this car. How this car doesn't have more wiring issues is beyond me. But there's as best as close up as I can get. You can see it's been chewed. The black vinyl I was talking about, it's been chewed all there. So I'm going to try to figure out how to fill that in and go from there. But before I do anything, I liberally coated the hell out of this with Lysol to disinfect this. All right, so here I am bringing the pieces down into my basement workshop. So that's the latest and greatest. As soon as I finish editing this video, I'll be heading down to clean and steam those panels and getting them ready for dye. That's basically the disassembly process for these rear trim pieces. If you found this video informative, please press the like button. If you haven't done so already, please press subscribe. And I encourage you to check out our main website, guyswithrides.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.